Hello and welcome to the first Hockey Valley Report for 2012. I'm Steve Penstone.
And I'm Rodney Martin. It's great to be back here in our studio.
Our brand new studio.
Today on the show, we'll take a look back at the Icers' exciting trip to Philadelphia to play at Citizens Bank Park as part of the NHL's Winter Classic.
And we're going to learn a little bit about the history of hockey on Perloff's pointers. And much later in the show, we're going to be joined by the coach of the women's team, Josh Brandwene. And Josh is going to discuss the Lady Icers' huge overtime win over NCAA Division I Sacred Heart.
But before all of that, if you're lucky enough to own an iPhone, you'll soon have a new way to keep in touch with all of the most up-to-date information from Penn State hockey.
Well, Icers statistician and Hockey Valley Report contributor Ben Grablitz has created the Icers app, and H3R reporter Leah Deshpande joined Ben at the Greenberg to get the story.
This is Leah Deshpande, and we're here with Ben Grablitz talking about the new iPhone Icers app that he's developing. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Leah. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So we are introducing your new app that you're developing on the iPhone. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the background and how you started the idea of developing this new app?
Of course. I took a app course last semester in which I had to write a final project app, and I decided as Penn State men's Icers game logger, having spent 2 seasons with the team, I decided that the easiest thing to do would be a hockey app. I wrote it in Xcode, which is a programming software, using a multitude of tools that they provide me, and it takes the data from the Penn State Icers website and makes it viewable as a native iPhone app, so people don't have to go through the Icers webpage in order to see the information. They can just access this app, which will get the information for them.
Oh, that's really good. How easy is it for the average viewer to use this app?
It should be really easy. It opens up, you have a choice of seeing the schedule with the final scores and box scores. You can see player stats. You can see individual players and their background. You can access latest news and the ability to actually get directions from your current location to the Greenberg Ice Pavilion.
Is this app for free, or does this cost something to download?
My hope is that it will go for free, and we may in the future offer the radio broadcast of the games, and at that point we may or may not have to charge a small fee in order to do that, but I doubt we will, since I think there are already apps that allow you to listen to the broadcast for free. So.
Okay, that's really good to know. Also, once a game is over, do you update the fans who have not been able to attend the game with the latest scores and highlights?
I won't be doing that. The person who manages the website, when they update it, that will update the schedule page, and they'll be able to see it at that point. And there's also a Twitter tab, so they can get live Twitter updates from the game. Okay, so launch it up. It brings up the schedule. Schedule is just a scrollable table of the Icers games. Any completed game you can click on and view the box score. See the scoring summaries, the penalty summaries, goalie stats. We have Twitter, tweets from the Hockey Valley and PSU Men's Hockey. Each tweet you can bring in, and the links will take you out to Safari to view the web page. Statistics brings up, you can swipe to bring up each stat. Penalty minute leaders, point leaders, assist leaders. Everything's sorted by tops in the stat, goalies and skaters. Roster brings up a detailed table of players, which you can then select and see their background and their career stats. The roster can be sorted by name, number, year, position, and can even be searched for. So if we were looking for Rich O'Brien, apologize for that.
And we are going to be sending this back to Innovation Park to Steve and Rod.
Thanks very much, Leah. And as an Android user, I can't wait for Ben to get the app for the Android phones. And of course, as soon as he does that, we'll have the details on PennStateHockey.com. It better be next week.
Next week, well, we'll try. Time for a quick break, and we'll come back. We'll take a look back at the Winter Classic. Welcome back to the Hockey Valley Report. I'm Rodney Martin.
And I'm Steve Penstone. Well, the Icers started the spring semester off with a big bang by taking it outdoors in front of almost 5,000 fans at the home of the Philadelphia Phillies, Citizens Bank Park.
As part of the 5th Bridgestone NHL Winter Classic, the Icers squared off against NCAA Division III Newman University. And while the game ultimately ended in a 6-3 win by the Knights, the players, coaches, and staff, certainly this staff member, will have memories that will last a lifetime.
And before we take a look back at the game, we're going to get a bit of a history lesson on outdoor hockey from a Penn State perspective. Scott Perloff has this week's installment of Perloff's Pointers.
Thank you for joining me on this week's installment of Perloff's Pointers. Due to all of the hockey buzz in Hockey Valley, it's extremely difficult to get any ice time. So we're going to go to the library and hit the books, and I'm going to give you a little history lesson about ice hockey and Penn State's ice hockey program. Before we get into Penn State's hockey program, let's talk a little bit about the origins of ice hockey. James Creighton created the first set of rules that led to the modern-day ice hockey rules. These rules were used in the very first ice hockey game at the Victoria Ice Rink in Montreal in 1875. Ice hockey would spread throughout Canada and eventually reach the United States in the early 1900s, with the very first American games being played at Yale and Johns Hopkins University. Penn State's hockey program began in 1939, head coached by Arthur Davis, and the following year became a varsity sport. This all sounds great, but in reality it was kind of a mess. The team had no practice facilities or ice rinks, and they actually had to flood tennis courts in order to play any games. The schedule was also very unorganized, having many games canceled due to weather, but they did play one home game on January 27, 1940 against the Hershey Junior Bears. In 1946, the program actually ended up dissolving because of lack of coaching and available ice time. The Icers reappeared in 1971, playing at the Brandwene Pavilion, which in only 8 years it ended up being converted into the football team's practice facility. The new ice pavilion opened up in 1981, and the Icers have been playing their home games there ever since. It was a very long wait between the first outdoor game and the Winter Classic game, but it was surely worth the wait. Steve and Rodney, back to you in the studio at Innovation Park.
Well, as Rodney mentioned, it was a great experience for all of us involved in the game at Citizens Bank Park. The Hockey Management Association members that braved the chill did a great job as the off-ice officials, and my man here knocked it out of the park, pardon the pun, handling the public address announcements.
Steve, I watched the replay, and of course you and Steve Zotner, your old partner.
Yep.
What was the comedy group you called
Foster and Howie.
Foster and Howie.
You have to be a Hockey Night in Canada fan to do it.
Well, more than 800 computers were logged onto our internet stream, and far and away the biggest audience for a Penn State hockey webcast ever.
Well, let's take a look as our Hockey Valley Reports cameras were with the team as they made the way from the dressing room out to the ice surface.
We are!
I go to every single hockey game.
Let's go Penn State! We are Penn State!
Did you try putting the heat here on? Yeah. I just did it like that. You got it.
Oh, collision! Oh!
up and then you'll get ready, but it's going to have to be quick. First of all, you guys went over little reminders, mental reminders for all 3 zones. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the game in general. So these are things that hopefully you have in your head, but when the puck drops, again, everybody is flying. You're not thinking you're flying. So first of all, back checking. Every single guy has to come to the house and stop. It's already been mentioned, but make sure pucks get behind D and let's explode. It's going to be, first of all, move our feet everywhere. Let's force them to handle us, not the other way around. Drive the net. That's going to not only create opportunities, it's going to force them to take penalties on us, okay? And if there's an opportunity to make a hit, you have an opportunity where you know you can use good technique, pound them, okay? I believe we have about 2 minutes before we're out there, so let's get ready to roll. Steiny, your line. Laux, you and Obi. Raz, your start.
Well, the outdoor game on just a perfect night in Philadelphia was the opener of a 3 games and 4 night road trip that took us to the heartland of the country for games against the University of Central Oklahoma and Oklahoma. On Friday night, the Icers were on the short end of a 3-2 shootout loss to the Broncos before rebounding with a 3-0 shutout over the Sooners on Saturday afternoon.
The Icers split was followed by a sweep of the Rhode Island Rams in their final visit to Hockey Valley the following weekend. So the Icers begin the second semester with a record of 2-2-1, probably not the best start for the Icers in the spring semester. But to try to turn it around with West Virginia coming to the Greenberg before the final road trip of the season and the final visit to one of the toughest places to play in the ACHA Bird Arena at Ohio University. And the Bobcats will be locked and loaded along with Gang Green to try and take down the Icers in their final contest.
Yeah, absolutely, Rodney. It's going to be a tough weekend for the Icers at the Bird Arena. I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be a crazy place, and Gang Green will have it rocking, that's for sure. Meanwhile, the Lady Icers have also gotten off to a solid start in 2012, and after the break, we're going to be joined by the Lady Icers head coach, Josh Brandwene. And welcome back to the Hockey Valley Report. I'm Steve Penstone.
And I'm Rodney Martin, and it's our pleasure to be joined by women's ice hockey coach Josh Brandwene. Coach Brandwene, thank you for taking the time to come out to visit with us at the Hockey Valley Report.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Josh, it's been quite a year for you, getting named as the women's coach, moving back here to State College. Have you finally, I guess, gotten your feet on the ground, or is it still a whirlwind for you and the family?
Probably a little bit of both at this point. I mean, the only way to describe the summer and the early fall would certainly be a complete whirlwind, and just so much credit goes to my wife Leona for just being a rock for our family and helping us get settled in with all the traveling that myself and the staff did. And so really it's a little bit of both at this point. A lot of moving parts with recruiting and the facility and whatnot and the current season. And it's nice to be settled in and have a little bit of routine also.
You can tell he was a Batista disciple.
You think?
You think so? I would like to think that's another story. You mentioned the schedule, and when we first looked at the schedule this year, just the amount of varsity opponents you've had this year, and mix in some really tough club opponents. You had 4 games against Rhode Island. Finally, were able to crack them in the win column against them this year. Talk about how that schedule's been, not as you as a coach preparing, and also for the players. I mean, because you got to kind of keep their spirits up to the game, and sometimes you're really taking some hard lessons out there on the ice.
Well, I think all the credit goes to them, because really the best word to describe this group is just the resilience is just phenomenal. This was a brand new experience, playing that caliber of competition for all of these kids, and they have just done a marvelous job really from day one, doing everything we've asked of them, and then to really have the stick-with-itness. I mean, 5 one-goal games against varsity competition, 3 of them that went to overtime, and to just keep coming back at teams and to get better and better as individuals and to get better and better as a team. It was just so great to see them rewarded for it this past weekend.
And speaking of individuals, you have 2 new ladies on the team that came in over the Christmas break, and they have fit right in and contributed right off the bat. Tell us a little bit about them.
Great players, and more importantly, great kids. And it's one of the reasons that they have fit in so well. First and foremost, this is Penn State. And this is just such a welcoming community, and our team is such a welcoming environment. They felt comfortable from day one, and they've been appreciative of everybody else in the program. They're just great team kids and team players to go along with their tremendous talent, and that has made the transition such a smooth one for all of us. It's been great to be a part of that as well.
Of course, and for those who may not know, that we're talking about Taylor Gross and Jess DeSorsi coming in this year in the spring semester. I mentioned when I saw you there at the first Rhode Island game in the first period, I was like, man, where'd you get those two? But you say, like you say, it's one thing to be on the ice, but to be able to fit in as a Penn Stater and to do it the way that you are doing it and that Coach Godowski is doing it, I mean, that has to be just like a huge bonus for them, just to have that come right in and be basically seamless.
It is. I mean, we're building a culture here, you know, just a culture of caring, team first, positive environment, and that's the cloth that these two young people are cut from, and that's why they're such a good fit for us here at Penn State in every way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. We've talked a number of times, Josh, about the learning experience coming with the tight losses against the Division I teams. Now you've got a tight victory. What does that mean to the team?
It's a real confidence boost. They've trusted the system. They've trusted that everyone on the team has a different role to play. They've really bought into that. And when you buy into that, it gives yourself an opportunity to be competitive. And if you keep at it and you stick with it, that's what creates moments like Saturday's moments. And it was just so great to see the kids respond to that moment. I was really proud of them and happy for them.
Well, we don't have quite have the telestrator, but we got some highlights going here. First coming up, the first goal here against Sacred Heart. You got Sarah Croman coming up the wing. Why don't you talk us through this one?
Well, Sarah's dropped back and played D for us here, and she's done a tremendous job moving the puck, and just all-out hustle by Carly Cisco there to get to the puck first, and Sarah made a real instinctual move there to close the gap and really made a nice play.
It's the old story, good things happen when you go to the net.
It's true, and that right there was the tying goal by Sacred Heart. If we can pause it for just a moment. And that was at the end of the second period. We were killing a penalty, and Nicole Palazzo, for them, all credit to her, she's a great player, made a great move right off the face-off, and suddenly going in the locker room at the end of two, it's 1-1, and you'll see here at the start of the third period, and again, this is the resilience this group has built. They stick with it. We get a great outlet pass from Madison Smitty right off the opening faceoff. Tess gets a great shot on net, gets us an offensive zone faceoff.
Pause it right there. I mean, you saw that she came back there in the blue line, and it's kind of like normally you see the defenseman go left or right with it, but she was right up the middle, kind of like the part of the C's was almost like a diamond.
Yeah.
And found her right in the
she
middle.
She used her vision really well, and there was communication with Jess right in the middle of the ice. Jess made a great head pass to Tess on the wing, and that's how we've created this offensive face-off.
Offensive zone draw here. Go ahead.
And so Madison moves it to the middle. Good quick shot, no wind-up, and Jess is right in front, stick on the ice. And just like that, we're back in front.
You talked about the resilience.
Can we pause it here?
Obviously giving up the goal in the last minute of the second period could have been a real letdown for the team, but as you say, they came out right off the face-off and responded. So that speaks volumes of, I think, the coaching more than anything else.
Well, it's really to their credit. They've bought into process.
Right.
And sticking with the things that they can control. It was water under the bridge. The goal was over. There's nothing we could do about it at that point. Come back and let's have a great start to the third period, and then they went out and did that. And so here with the 2-1 lead, again, you'll see number 24 for them. Real nice play coming around the net with lots of traffic in front. And with all that traffic in front, they end up tying the game 2-2 with about 8 minutes to go.
Okay. See what our next highlight is here. I think we got some highlights here of Katie making some pretty good stops here. Talk about her play here through this game.
You can just see the way her crease movement is, how she's always at the top of the crease. There's something about her preparation and the work she puts into practice and how competitive she is as an athlete that has just led her to get better and better as the season has gone on. And you can see just the strength in her movements in those clips has really allowed her to achieve what she's achieved thus far this season.
Really seeing the influence of Coach Hand being kind of a dedicated, for him, one of his many hats,
yes.
but having a dedicated goalie coach, talk about his impact for both him and Mary.
We're very deliberate in our practice planning to spend some time individual skill development with the forwards and the D, and that affords him time to do individual work with our goaltenders, and they're such a hard-working crew. All three of them, Katie and MK and Sarah Eisenhut, they support each other. They're just a great example setter for team chemistry. They work so hard, they push each other. And so Josh's influence technically and the camaraderie they have has really been invaluable for us this season.
Okay, let's see what our next clip is here.
This is one of our scoring chances late, and this is Tess on a breakaway here. Look at the great job she does initiating contact, protecting the puck, getting a decent scoring chance there. She's having herself a heck of a season right now.
That's a good job of blocking the defender out.
Yeah, and we work on that too, and she's done a good job picking those skills up. Another one of our scoring chances. Good forecheck there by Taylor Gross, and a great shot by Tess.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. Towards the end of the game, you kind of saw there, maybe it looked like Tess was kind of towards the end of a shift there, but still she gutted it out. You kind of were taking over the game there towards the end. Did you think they kind of took them off guard a little bit?
Well, I think, I think, I can't speak for them. All I can do is speak for us. And it has to do with a number of factors. The resiliency factor, which we've talked an awful lot about, and these kids and their commitment to our conditioning and the interval work we do at practice. They wear it as a badge of honor. They work incredibly hard at it, and it's moments like this where it pays off, where you have a little extra energy to make a move on a breakaway and generate the kind of scoring chances we did in overtime and finally got rewarded for it at the end.
I mean, every year with the men at the banquet, they always thank the trainers for working them all season long as much as they hate it. Same thing with the ladies?
Absolutely. Just such a coachable group, hardworking. They work hard in the weight room. They give us 110% on the ice. They understand why we do the conditioning that we do. And it's all about positive, and it's all about, again, wearing it as a badge of honor because they know it's going to help them come late in the game.
Okay, well, let's take a look towards the end of the game here.
Great shift by a line that just had a great game here, and Carly and Katie Murphy and Kate Christopherson. Great scoring chance by Kate there, being a high forward support to the middle. And so then again, the penalty shot here, had any number of people who could have taken the shot. Jess has had a ton of breakaways for us so far. She makes a great move here. Credit to their goalie. She played it perfectly. She came out, she forced the deke, but she moved back with speed. And sometimes you make a great move, and sometimes the goalie beats you. That's the way it goes in hockey sometimes.
And very rare to have a penalty shot in overtime.
Yes. Yeah.
And here we got another example of a great breakout here, a little chip pass. Self-pass actually off the boards here, and we get another breakaway.
Yeah, you'll see Allie Rothman really anticipates the play, makes a nice chip and go. She doesn't try to stick handle around the girl, and she gets a great shot right off the iron right there late in the overtime.
That was dead center.
Yeah, and here coming again late in the overtime, great swerve to the middle by Jess. Taylor picks up the pass, another great scoring chance in overtime, and again leads to an offensive zone faceoff.
And here we got the game winner coming up.
And there's Tess right there on the post. Very opportunistic, didn't waste any time, and certainly a great moment for our kids.
And then here we got to talk about the clan of Penn State, Penn Staters that were there.
Penn State travels well.
Yeah, hopefully, and Penn State does travel well. Hopefully you can hear that. We have two kids in the program from Connecticut, and Kate Christopherson, and her family was sort of leading the charge on Friday. And then Lindsay Ryle's dad, who you can see there in the picture there, just going bonkers at the end of the game, leading the "We Are Penn State" chant. They brought just a bus of fans down from the Cheshire area, and to have that kind of support that we've had sort of from the Penn State family over the course of the season, and to have it here on the road was really something special for these kids.
What a tremendous win against the Division I opponent. Now, as you head into the home stretch, as it were, of the season, and now you're just focusing on ACHA opponents, and you got to be able to take. I mean, this has got to be a huge, almost like a watershed win for you heading forward, going in and trying to make a push for the national tournament.
Absolutely. Again, the experience just speaks for itself for these kids and how hard they've worked. We got a lot of work to do. We got an uphill battle. I mean, we had such an NCAA heavy schedule in the fall. We played 6 ACHA games in the fall. That was it. And so we're going to give it our best shot. We got a lot of work to do. We certainly have a lot of great energy right now, and we'll see where it takes us here. But we've got a lot of work to do to get to where we want to get, and that's just a product of the schedule. Yeah. And the kids have worked hard and done the job and have done everything we've asked, and so we'll see where it takes us.
As the saying goes, to be the best, you got to beat the best, and big win against Sacred Heart Division I team. Josh, congratulations, and pass that on to the ladies, and thanks for coming in today.
Absolutely, will do. Thank you all for having me on the show.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, and in fact, Coach did such a good job. We're going to have to bring him back.
I think they want to call this Brandwene's breakdown.
Yeah. Well, Coach's corner's been taken. So
alliteration. We're all about alliteration. So.
Well, we will have Josh back before the end of the season.
Absolutely.
That is for sure.
So we'll take a quick break, and maybe we'll get Coach Brandwene's contract together, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Hockey Valley Report. Well, it's been a very exciting start to the spring semester here in the final semester of Division I club hockey here at Penn State.
Hard to believe after 41 years, but there is a lot of hockey remaining before we get to the national tournament in March. And before we come back to our Innovation Park studio, there are 10 games around Hockey Valley. Leah Deshpande has the calendar for you.
Coming up in Hockey Valley, the Icers are going to wrap up January by taking on West Virginia University at the Greenberg on Friday and Saturday. While the Lady Icers are headed to Massachusetts to battle the Northeastern Huskies, the Division II Ice Lions, who have not lost a single game since early October, will look to continue their winning streak against Delaware. The next weekend, the Icers will travel to the Bird Arena in Athens, Ohio, for the final regular season meeting against their biggest rival, the OU Bobcats. The women will return home to play number 4 ranked Liberty University on Saturday and Sunday, both afternoon games for the ladies. The Ice Lions will be taking on Rowan University at the Greenberg that Saturday night. That's a lot of hockey for you, Steve and Rod. You think you can handle it all?
Well, thanks, Leah. I think we can handle things, but thanks for the words of warning.
Yeah, even for a rookie, she kind of knows that we don't always quite have it all together. But this is a wrap of this episode of the Hockey Valley Report. Join us next week. As always, we'll have an in-studio guest. Scott Perloff will analyze the Icers' power play on his weekly segment, Perloff's Pointers.
Scott, also known as Scoot. Don't know why, because I've seen him skate. But anyway, if you have any questions for Scott, or if you have a guest that you want to see, you can email producer Vince Chandler at hockeyvalleyreport@gmail.com. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. Until then, I'm Steve Penstone.
And I'm Rodney Martin, and don't try and watch me skate either. You all have an excellent day out there. Thanks.